Okay, so this is a video of me doing a practice Gmat exam from the official website. I'm not going to spend time explaining how I answer every single question, obviously, because I wouldn't have time to then finish, but I'll do my best to explain what I'm thinking as I go through. I can't promise I'll get every question right. I'd be very happy with it if I did, but hopefully this will be helpful in order for you to see sort of what kind of technique I apply when I'm actually doing the GMAT questions. And hopefully you can see that it's very similar, or effectively is based on what the techniques that are in the guide. So let's get started. Okay, so translating, took Carlos half an hour to cycle from his house to the library yesterday. Was the distance, so we've got t equals a half, d greater than 6 miles, question mark, and 6 miles is going to be, well, 1 mile is 5,000, so is d greater than 680 feet? Is that correct? 28 times 6. Yep. Okay, and then 1. The average speed was greater than 16 feet per second. Okay, so v is greater than 16. And v is less than 18. Okay, so, well, what does, so we've got, and we want to know what the distance is. So distance is equal to t times v. So 6 times half, and half in seconds, half an hour in seconds is 1800. So 1800 times, wow, this is quite nasty mental maths for the first question. 1800 times 16, that's going to be, well, certainly so 2000 times 16 would be 32,000. So that's less than 30,000, 32,000. So certainly less than this. So all we know is d is greater than 30,000-ish for a, which doesn't tell us enough. And v is less than 18. Well, 18 times 18 is, I believe that's 324. It's not enough though. I better 18 times 15 is 270 plus, yep, 324. And so all we can say is d is less than, okay, so one is not enough because it's greater than 30,000. It's also less than, so actually both of them together are not sufficient. A used car dealer sold one car at a profit. So if the purchase price for the car was X, then he sold it for 1.25x, and the other one he sold it at 0.8y, and apparently both of them are equal to 20,000. And so what was the dealer's total profit or loss in dollars for the two transactions combined? Well, so we just need to check how much what X and Y is, because he made 40,000 in total. So his profit is going to be 40,000 minus whatever he paid. And so X is going to be 20,000 over 1.25, which is 20,000 over 5 times 4, which is 16,000. And Y is going to be similar, 20,000 over 4 times 5, so 25,000. And so he's made a $1,000 loss. Again, just translating as I go. Susan drove an average speed of 30 miles an hour for the first 30 miles of a trip. Well, then that's taken her 1 hour. And then an average speed of 60 miles per hour for the remaining 30 miles of the trip. Well, that's only going to take her half an hour. If she made no stops, what was Susan's average speed in miles per hour for the entire trip? Okay, well, she's traveled 60 miles in 1.5 hours, and so that means she's gone at 40 on average. Start rotating at the same time. Okay, so gear P makes, we're talking about seconds, so gear P does 1 in 6 seconds, and gear Q does 1 in 1.5 seconds. How many seconds after the gear start rotating will Q have made exactly 6 more revolutions than gear P? Well, let's just do it sort of by numbers. So in, well, in 12 seconds, this guy's done 2, and this guy's done 8. And so that's exactly it. So how many seconds after that? So it's 12 seconds. There we go. Which of the following is an integer? Well, I is an integer because it's literally just, I mean, I'm not even going to explain it. I is an integer, II is an integer, and III is also an integer just because that's 12 choose 5. So it's also an integer, so all of them are. Simple annual interest, total amount of interest. Well, it's simple, so there's not going to be any powers. And the interest, it doesn't have it's literally just the interest amount, so there's no powers, and it's not got a 1 plus, so it's literally just, it has to be this C. Is the average of 5 different positive integers at least 30? So they're all different, and we want to know, is the total greater than or equal to 150 question mark. And they're all different. Each of the integers is, and they're all positive, each of the integers is a multiple of 10. So that means, well, so we want to know this. So let's just make the worst case scenario. So 10, 20, these are as small as possible, 30, 40, 50, anything more than that, and it's even better. And this has an average of 30. So 1 alone is enough. They're definitely an average of 30. And the sum of the 5 integers is 160. Well, that's definitely enough. So each one is sufficient. Is m plus z greater than 0? So, well, we don't know anything about m or z at the moment. So m minus 3z is greater than 0. Well, you know, we still don't know that they could be positive or negative, so that's certainly not enough. Same for the second one. But if we put them together, then we can add them and say that if we add 1 and 2, we get that z is greater than 0. Okay. And then m is greater than 3z from 1, so m is greater than 0, which means m plus z is greater than 0. So both statements together are sufficient, but neither alone is sufficient. Okay, we're doing quite well for time, so I can sort of start slowing down a bit. If n is a positive integer and r is the remainder, when n plus 1, n minus 1 is divided by 24. Okay, so 24, what is that? That's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. First trickier question. Okay, n is not divisible by 2. So if n is not divisible by 2, that means that n minus 1 and n plus 1 are divisible by 2. So we've got that well, we don't, so basically we've got a factor of 2 squared using option 1, but we don't know anything about this 3 or the other 2, so let's move on to 2. N is not divisible by 3, which means one of n minus 1 or n plus 1 must be divisible by 3, if you think about it, because then 3 consecutive numbers, so then that means we get the factor of 3. But even together, I still don't think we can account for this third 2. because it could either, so let's just, yeah, effectively we need to be able to account for all the factors. So I don't think them together are sufficient, but we're going quite quickly. So let's just check that with an example. So let's just take an example. Well, why don't we make it very obvious and make n 5. If n equals 5, then we get 4 times 6, so 24. So in that case, we'd get a remainder of 0. But another one that would work is n equals 7, and so we get 6 times 8, which is 48. Okay. What about n equals so this is why it's worth checking, even if you think it's right. N equals, I suppose, 1. Zero divided by 24. Okay, I'm looking for an exception to the rule. N equals 11, so we get 10 times 12. Well, that again is divisible. I'm really getting a pattern here. N equals 13, 12 times 14. That will be as well. Right, yes. And so what's the flaw in my reasoning? Well, if n is not divisible by 2, they're both even, yes, but actually one of them must be a multiple of 4. So we have accounted it. So each statement, both statements together are sufficient. And now let me just think about 2. Is 2 needed? Seven, so 9. Right, yes, 2 was needed because, for example, if we use n equals 9, we've got 8 times 10, and that's 80, which is not divisible by 24. So both together are needed. Good. So just a good example of using the extra time saved to check when you're not certain. What is the area? Okay, well, we've got a circle. And it's a diameter. And so this is a right angle. Radius of the circle, center O is 1, and BC equals 1. So this whole thing is 2, which means that this side is length root 3 using Pythagoras. And so half base times height is root 3 over 2, and that was quite easy. Okay, sigma start was 10. What's sigma at the end? 30% of... Okay, well, 1 is enough because sigma is just how spread out is it, and so that 30, if everything goes to 30%, then sigma nu will be 7, and the average arithmetic mean, oh well, 2 is certainly not enough. So statement 1 is enough, but 2 is definitely not. Is xy greater than 0? Okay, so we need to know if basically that is asking if x and y are both negative or both positive. So if, well, essentially we neither of them on their own will be able to tell us at all whether both are positive or both are negative. So we're going to need both together and check if that's enough. X is greater than y minus 2. and x is less than 2y minus 6. So I'm feeling like this isn't enough together. Let's just let's try some examples. So if we make, well, there's nothing here, so it's strictly greater than 0. So why don't we just try x equals 0 and y is so 0 is greater than Okay, no, not liking that. So let's try another attempt, another way of doing this. Let's rearrange. So we've got x minus y is greater than minus 2. And we need to rearrange this other one so that the inequalities agree. So 2y minus x is greater than 6. And so if we add those together, we get that y is greater than 4. Okay. And then if y is greater than 4, then, well, x is greater than 4 minus 2. So x greater than 2. Okay, so together they are sufficient. What is the value of x? Okay, more geometry. Just going to start translating everything I can. So we've got 90. We've got this random thing here. Next. Okay. X. Can't really do much else at the moment. The length of line segment QR is equal to the length of line segment RS. Okay, so let's say that that's that. Well, that means that whatever this is, let's call him Y. Then this guy is also Y, which makes this guy 180 minus Y. And this guy 180 minus 2Y. And this guy, oh, this question's a bit nasty, isn't it? This guy 180 minus X minus Y, which also tells, so this alone isn't going to be enough. We've also got this other corner, which is 180 minus, so 2Y. Okay, well, this basically effectively, I'm just clearly not going to get this out from this. So the length of line segment ST is equal to the length of line segment TU. Okay, so then we've got this is this, which makes this guy 180 minus X minus Y as well. And this guy in the corner, well, as in, well, this makes this guy X plus Y. That guy in the corner is 180 minus 2y minus 90, so 2y minus 90. He's 2y minus 90. But another way I could have got him is by just saying he's part of this triangle, as in I used the big triangle there. So he's also going to be 180 minus 2 sets of 180 and 2 sets of x minus x minus y. So he's going to be 2x plus 2y minus 180, and that's going to be equal to 2y minus 90. And so surprisingly, that's led us to 2x equals 90, and so x is equal to 45. Hopefully I haven't done any mistakes, and so we can say both sides together are sufficient. Okay, this looks like a Venn diagram immediately. So we've got inflammation and fever, and we've got 1,000 in total. 880 developed neither. Oh, and we want to know how many developed inflammation but not fever. So we want to know this, A. Okay, so 1 tells us that 880 didn't get either. So A, B, C. Well, that means that the A plus B plus C is 120, and we want to know A. Clearly, that alone is not enough. 2, 20 children developed fever. So that means B plus C is 20. Well, that's clearly not enough on its own. But if we subtract that, then that gives us A equals 100. And so that together, they've told us. If x, y, and z are integers, and xy plus z is an odd integer, is x an even integer? Oh, I hate this type. Okay, so xy plus z is odd. We want to know about x. Okay. 1 is xy plus xz is even. So in other words, x, y plus z equals even. Okay, and so what, in order for a multiplication to be even, we only need one thing to be even. So this tells us x even or y plus z even. I'm doing very well on time, so I'll take some time on this question. Okay, 6 even. Right, for this question, I'm going to set odd. We're just going to talk about remainders. So odd is 1, even is 0. And so what do we got? We've got xy plus z equals odd. And then we've got x, y plus z equals 0. And we want to know x, question mark. So either x is 0 or y plus z is 0. So if y plus z equals 0, then y equals minus z, or in other words, they're both even or they're both odd. So y equals z, because minus z is modulus arithmetic. Okay, and so if y equals z, well, we want to know if x is even. So so if y equals z, then if y equals 1, then we've got x plus 1 equals 0, and so x is 0. X plus 1 equals 1, and so x is 0. And if y is 1, if y is 0, then we've got 0 plus 0 equals 1, which is a contradiction. And so we must have that x is even, I believe. And y plus xz is odd. Okay. I'm taking a lot of time on this question, so I want to move on. I can't see a particularly easy way of getting there. If we add them together, we're not getting much. Actually, let's try adding them together. So we get x, y plus z plus y plus z equals 1 plus 1, which is in this arithmetic 0. And so we get y plus z 1 plus x equals 0. So either y plus z equals 0 or 1 plus x equals 0, which tells us x equals 1 using this arithmetic. But if y plus z equals 0, no, okay, so 2 isn't enough because we've got that x can be odd or even. So that means 1 alone is sufficient, but statement 2 alone is not. That was nasty. I'm not even certain I got it right, but I need to move on. Okay, for every positive even integer n, it's defined to be the product of all the even integers of 2 to n inclusive. So it's sort of like a factorial. So in fact, it is a factorial effectively because we've got 2 times 4. So we've got 2 to the n, n over 2 factorial. That's actually what hn is. P is a smallest prime factor, then P is, oh, well, it's literally 2 to the n, 50 factorial, plus 1. And so we've got plus 1. So basically, there's no prime factor less than 50 that's in there. So we can do, let me be very careful. Let me just think. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, 3 grades of milk are 1%, 2%, and 3%. Okay, so we've got x plus 2y plus 3z equals 1.5 x plus y plus z. And so basically we get, rearranging that, we get x over 2 is equal to y over 2 plus 3z over 2. And so x equals y plus 3z. And that's it. Okay, nice and easy. Which of the following functions is f of x equal to f of 1 minus x for all x? Well, we effectively just plug in 1 minus x for x to sort of swap it around. So just looking at that, well, I mean, to be honest, it's going to be d. If you look at that, we just swap x and 1 minus x, and it's not going to make a difference. N is defines the number of prime factors whose product is n. I think then it's the number of prime factors whose product is n. So for the length of 75 is 3. Ah, okay. Oh, so what a weird way of saying is how many prime factors it has. Yeah. How many 2-digit positive integers have length 6? Well, length 6, that's a long thing. So there's got to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is equal to 64. So here's length 6. And the only other thing we can do to get length 6 is swap this guy for a 3, which gives us 32 times 3, so that's 96. And so that's 2, and then anything else, we're not going to, so it's going to be too big. So say 2. Okay. Here I'm going to have a sort of number line. I'm going to say x is positive, so we'll start with 0 here. And the first thing I'm going to look for is the equals part. So when 1 over x equals 2x, that tells us that x squared equals a half, so x is 1 over root 2. Okay, so we'll have a point at 1 over root 2. And then 1 over x equals x squared, that tells us that x equals 1. And 2x equals x squared, that tells us that x equals 2. Okay, and so here we've got, so on the left, if I call, so here we've got 1 over x, oh my god, 1 over x is greater than 2x to the left of this. Wherever it's not is where I've not got a red, it will be less than. For the 1, we've got this range is where 1 over x is greater than x squared, and this range, oh my lord, this range is where 2x is greater than x squared. Okay, and so x squared is less than 2x, so we're at less than 2, which is less than 1 over x. So we're at less than 1 over root 2. So that works. X squared is less than 1 over x. So we've got, we're less than 1, which is less than 2x. So we need to be 2x to be big. So we're in this little range. That's fine. And 2x is less than x squared. So we're greater than 2. But x squared is less than 1 over x. So we're at less than 1. So we're greater than 2 and less than 1, so that doesn't work, and so we're at 1 and 2 only. Okay, 15 ohms. So the average, so the total price is equal to, I'm just going to say it's 225. We'll get rid of these thousands. The median was 130. So I'm going to do an ordered list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, so 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Basically, there's 7 homes here and 7 homes here. Okay. And so, which of the following statements must be true? At least one of the homes have sold for more than 165. Okay, well, let's do our worst case scenario. So what can we have? We can have try to make this not true. Well, let's make all of these guys 16.5. So we've got 16.5 times 7 on the right. And then to try doing our best to make it not true, then these guys on the left must all be 13. So we've got 13 times 7 on the left. So 30 in total, we've got 13 times 8 plus, which is 104, I think. And 16.5 times 7, well, that's annoying. That's 80, 96, 112, 115.5, hopefully, something like that. And so add them together, and that's equal to 219.5, and that we haven't quite made the total yet, which means that we must We haven't made the total, so it must actually be true. We haven't managed it. At least one of the homes was sold for more than 130 and less than 150. So here, I think the less than 150 is the interesting part. So no, that doesn't have to be true, because we just shown, for example, 13, a bunch of 13s and a bunch of 16.5s wasn't even enough. So we could have a bunch of 13s and a bunch of 17s, and that would work, or a bunch of 13s and a bunch of 18s, or whatever we would have needed. So 2 doesn't have to be true. Then at least one of the homes was sold for less than 130. Again, that doesn't have to be true. So only 1 has to be true. And the reason I could say 3 wasn't true is because I've already shown that there's another example that I can come up with where it isn't true. Okay. Edge of a circular lake that has a diameter of 2 miles. So that's got a circumference of pi d, which is 6.28 about. And she walked around at an average rate of 3 miles per hour. And so that's t. Okay, so that's roughly 2 point something, 2 point a little bit. And so, okay, that was surprisingly easy. Just want to check. Yeah. Okay, strange. Looks like a Venn diagram. Morning and afternoon. Okay, we've got 1 to 8. So A, B, C. A plus B plus C equals 1 to 8. 3/4. How many people attended the morning session only? So the question is, what is A? Option 1 tells us 3/4 of the people attended both sessions. So that means that tells us that B is equal to 3/4 of 128, which is 96. Which doesn't, that alone doesn't tell us what A is. Whereas 2, that's 7 over 8 people attended the afternoon session. So whatever that is, I can't be bothered to work it out, but that means that B plus C must be some number, which leaves us with exactly, it leaves us with a number for A. So statement 2 alone is sufficient, but statement 1 is not sufficient. Committee of 3 people is to be chosen from 4 married couples. 3 people from 4 married couples. So we've got 8 people at first. How many different committees can be chosen if 2 people are married to each other cannot both serve in the committee? Okay, well, how many choices do we have for the first person? Well, 8. How many choices for the second? Well, there's 7 people left, and the person we've already picked is married to someone, so 6, and then 4 using the same logic. And then it didn't really matter what order we picked the 3 in, so we've got 3 repeats effectively, as in person, person, person. So we need to divide by 3 factorial, which is 6, cancel those 2, and we get 32. Number line, they're all between 0. So we've got 0, 1, and 2. We've got R is somewhere here. S is somewhere here. Which of the following must be less than 1? R over S. Well, yes, that must be, because it's something less than 1 divided by something bigger than 1. RS. Let's try and make it not. Well, if S is 2 and R is 1, then it's not less than 1. Okay. S minus R. No, again, 2 minus 0. So it's only 1. What is the y-intercept of line L? Okay, so we've got y equals mx plus c is our line. The slope of line L is 3 times its y-intercept. So in other words, that changes it into y equals 3cx plus c. Well, that alone clearly hasn't told us what c is. The x-intercept of line L is minus a third. Okay, so that means that if we plug in 0 into our original equation, 0 equals mx. No, it's at minus a third, so m times minus a third plus c, which tells us that m over 3 equals c, so m equals 3c. And that's actually the same information as we already got in 1. So even together, they're not alone. They're not enough because it's 2 of the same equations. N and t are positive integers. What the greatest prime factor of the product nt? Okay. Well, the greatest common factor of n and t is 5. So that means n and t both have a 5 in them. And something else. What is the greatest prime factor of the product? Well, we certainly can't say what the greatest prime factor is because we don't know anything about the other prime factors. The least common multiple of n and t is 105. So, well, let's see what 105 is. 105 is equal to 5 times 3 times 7. Okay, the least common multiple of those is 105. Well, that's basically saying that that's once you get rid of all the sort of repeats. So in other words, 7 is the biggest prime factor in either of the numbers, and so when you multiply them together, 7 is still the biggest number, the biggest prime factor. So statement 2 alone is sufficient. Okay, this is just that we need it to be a linear function, so not x squared. X plus 1 isn't linear, root x isn't linear, 2 over x, there we go. That's linear. Okay, in the xy plane, does the line with equation y equals 3, okay, so does it contain the point rs? Well, if it contains that point, then we know that s must be equal to 3r plus 2. That's what we're trying to claim must be true. So option 1, well, option 1 tells us that s is equal to 3r plus 2, or s is equal to 4r plus 9. And option 2 tells us a very similar thing. So either one alone is not enough, but together we've only got 3r plus 2 in both of them, so together they'll work. Number 75, the sum of the squares of 3 different positive integers. What is the sum of these 3 integers? Okay, let's just figure it out. Just by eyeballing it, I guess 7 squared is 49, plus 5 squared is 25, so that's 74 plus 1 squared. 75, does that work? Yep. So 7 plus 5 plus 1, that's 13. Done. If 0 is less than x is less than 1, okay, so they're both positive. What is the value of x plus y squared over x minus y squared? Well, we're certainly going to need both of them. Okay, let's just expand it out based on the information they've given us. So x squared plus y squared plus 2xy over, well, we might need both of them actually. I'm suddenly less sure. X squared plus y squared minus 2xy. Okay, so if we use 1, well, then we can get rid of all the x squared plus y squareds. So we can say that we've got 5xy. Oh, well, okay, there we go. I'm completely wrong. 5xy over 3x, just xy, which is just 5. Fine. Xy equals 3. Oh, is that alone enough? Xy equals 3. So that turns this thing into x squared plus y squared. And I'm taking time on this because I've way overdone it on speed, so I've got plenty of time. Plus 6 over x squared plus y squared minus 6. Okay, and so now I need to say, well, if xy equals 3, then y equals 3 over x. And so we've got x squared plus 3 over x squared plus 6 over x squared plus 3 over x squared minus 6. Multiply top and bottom by x squared, I guess. X to the 4 plus 6x squared plus 3 over x to the 4 plus minus 6x squared plus 3. Then that leads to x squared. Not going to factorize. And even if it did factorize, then we're still not going to get a solution. So 1 alone is sufficient, but 2 alone is not. Okay, that's the quant section done. Now for the nasty stuff in the verbal. Let's try and do this. Okay. So prior to 1965, let's just assume that the tutor. Okay, so what's it primarily concerned with? Well, it's certainly not evaluating a method to use blah blah blah. I'm liking B. It's not about an experiment. It's not. Is it questioning the validity of scientific finding? No, it's not actually. It's just trying to explain it. And there's no hypothesis here. So it's discussing explanations for an unexpected scientific finding. Henry's findings in 1965. So he found that the temperatures were not as elevated as had been expected. So why were they significant? Well, they didn't reveal any errors. They didn't actually indicate the type of clay present because we still don't have an explanation. C is just no. Okay, I'm thinking it's D. Which of the following regarding Henry's finding about temperatures? Well, A is looking pretty good. Henny didn't actually suggest this explanation in this. They weren't recalculated. They certainly didn't provide support for anything. And they nothing about root, so A is good. Okay, unlike most severance package, which require work stay until the last day scheduled to collect, workers at the automobile company are eligible for a severance package even if they find a new job before they are terminated. Ooh, nasty question already. So I'm not liking the last day scheduled to collect, as in, is that a day scheduled to collect, or is it the day that the last day that they're scheduled? So that's suggesting C or D, which requires work to stay until their last scheduled day to collect. No, D is the only one that's explaining that. And we've also got an unlike most severance packages compared to a severance package in D. So I'm liking D. So what about comparisons? Unlike most severance packages, in A, we got comparing to workers, no. In B, we got it comparing to workers, no. In C, we got it compared to the automobile company, no. In D, we got the company severance package, that's good. And E, the last day that they are scheduled to collect. Yeah, I'm preferring D. Spent quite a lot of time on that question. Fossils of a whale that beached on an African shore more than 1 million years ago and was subsequently butchered. So fossils of a whale that beached of a whale that beached and was butchered. Okay, so it is was. So we can get rid of. Okay, and then so I don't think fossils of a whale having been beached is correct. I prefer fossils of a whale that beached, so because it's the whale that beached, it's not the fossils having been the whale having been beached. Passive for no reason. Okay, so it must be A. It's the only one with parallelism. And yeah, so because which isn't allowed. Yeah, A. Okay, I've actually done this question a lot in full transparency. So, but basically, in contrast to ongoing trade imbalances with China and Japan, so we're comparing trade imbalances with a trade deficit in A, which is fine, whereas in B, it's the United States, which isn't allowed. In C, it's the United States, which isn't allowed. In D, it's the United States, which isn't allowed. And in E, we've got compared to ongoing trade imbalances with China and Japan, the United States record exports to Mexico caused a 500 million decline in the trade deficit with that country. So there we've got trade imbalances compared to record exports, which isn't great. And it's just saying compared, which is showing similarities usually, whereas in contrast is better. So we'll go with A. Okay, very short sentence or underlined portion. So we're going to have to be very literal. As the former chair of the planning board for 18 consecutive years and a board member for 28 years, Joan Philkill attended blah, 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 blah. What a weird name. Well, she didn't attend as the former chair. She attended as the chair. So it's just E. As the honeybee stinger is heavily barbed, staying where it is inserted, this results in the act of stinging, causing the bee to sustain a fatal injury. So I don't like that this results. So I like E. Simply because it shows the meaning more clearly. Yeah. Which of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? Okay, so what's the argument? The average salary for jobs requiring a college degree. So salary for jobs, degree is higher than other ones. Over the last few years, the number of Cravonians enrolled in college has been growing steadily. So number enrolled, a few years. Number of Cravonians entering the job market who have at least the qualification of a college degree will eventually be significantly higher than it has been over the past last few years. Doesn't seem like a bad argument. I suppose they could quit, not graduate. They could stay in academia. Who says they're going to enter the job market? They could leave Cravonia. So we're looking for something that counters that, the fact that they'll all join the job market. So 1 is not about that. Okay, 2 is quite good. It's saying that they're staying in uni. Because if they are staying in uni, that means that it's saying not the number enrolling for college, it's just the number enrolled. So there'd be more people at uni, even if the number of people each year isn't increasing. C is just about percentage. Okay, happy with B. Studying the fruit fly, household nuisance, but a time-honored experimental subject, has enabled the secrets. That doesn't sound right. Of how embryos develop to begin to be on. Okay, so that's just nonsense. By the study of the fruit fly. Okay, I just don't like B. By studying a household nuisance. Okay, so in C, they're saying the fruit fly studied a household nuisance. Nope. By studying the fruit fly, the secrets of how embryos develop are beginning to be unraveled by scientists. So that's not, D is not bad, but it is sort of suggesting that the secrets are the ones doing the studying. So I'm not liking D too much. Study the fruit fly, a household nuisance, but a time-honored experimental subject, has enabled scientists to begin to unravel the secrets of how embryos develop. There we go. Which of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? So what's the argument? Country in Bourisia has until now been so self-sufficient in both grain and meat. However, with growing prosperity in Bourisia has come a steadily increasing per capita consumption. So, okay, so meat consumption is going up. Grain, lots of grain for one meat. Since per capita income is almost certain to rise further, but increasing domestic grain. Okay, so grain is going to stay steady. Bourisia is soon likely to become an importer of grain. Okay, so they import grain. So the issue with that is, well, so they're saying that meat is going to go up, and so they'll import grain to create meat. But why wouldn't they just import meat? There we go. Exactly that. Okay, in the argument given, the two bold-faced portions play which of the following roles? Okay. Okay, A is quite good, although, yeah, so I quite like A. No, definitely not B. The argument doesn't accept it, so it's not C. Argument doesn't defend it. Ooh. And E, it's not disputed by the argument, so we're happy with A. Which of the following, if true, provides most support for the view that Mammoth Industries cannot increase its sales of telephones by adopting the plan outlined above? Okay, so what's the plan outlined above? Okay, so the plan is literally just increase production. And they're already advertising, so they're not doing anything there. So, and we have to argue won't add to sales. Okay, well, it sells all the telephones. No. A doesn't seem relevant. Every inventory of no. B doesn't seem relevant. C doesn't seem relevant. D doesn't seem relevant. Oh, E. Basically, they've not been able to sell all the ones they already have, basically. So who cares if they produce more? It's just not popular. Okay. Comparable worth as a standard. Okay. Comparable worth are different in which of the following ways from other mandates tend to reduce. Okay, well, they don't, nothing to do with pay schedules. No, you can do public and private sector. Okay, so they can quantify the value of elements of dissimilar jobs. Yeah, because they're comparing different jobs but the same task. So happy with that. Which of the following is true of comparable worths of policy? No, it wasn't comparable worth policy decisions. They have been applied to both. Hasn't become criticized. No. No. Okay, cool. Can be further from past application of other mandates. See how it's successfully unlikely to result in income satisfactory human privilege. So effectively, we're looking for different jobs. Okay, 2 is not bad. Yeah, so it's 2 because they're different jobs. Oh, there's more than one as an option. No, okay, so it's just 2 only. Okay, so it's not A. No, it's not really B because they're both computer programmers. It's not about promotion. Okay, D looks right. It's about the skills being compared, I guess, different jobs. Okay, at the annual stockholders, long sentence. Let's heard a presentation on the numerous challenges facing the company, including among them. So we can get rid of B immediately, because which is not about the company, including among them the threat from a rival's multi-billion dollar patient infringement suit, the declining sales of companies platform. So including among them is redundant. Among or including, but not both. And so we can get rid of A, B, and C. And so we're just down to D and E. Among them, the threat of the rivals multi-billion and the decline in sales of the company's platform. Okay. Ooh, D and E. Among them, investors heard a presentation on numerous challenges facing the company. Among them, these. So among them sounds better than among these, and also just the threat of versus the threat from. So what would you say? You'd say there's a threat of a, you would threaten, there's a threat of a lawsuit, not a threat from a lawsuit. So I'm going to go with D. The greatest road system built in the Americas prior to the arrival of Christopher Columbus was the Incan Highway, which over 2,500 miles long and extending. Well, A is wrong because it's not a sentence. Which, and then some description, so no. The greatest road system built in the Americas prior to the arrival of Christopher Columbus was the Incan Highway, over 2,500 miles in length, and extended. Well, it didn't extend it. No. Great. I'm looking at E. The greatest road system built in the Americas prior to the arrival of Christopher Columbus, the Incan Highway, was over 2,500 miles long, extending from northern Ecuador. Okay. I really don't like any of them, but E is the only one that makes any kind of sense from what I can tell. First detailed study of magpie attacks in Australia, wow, indicates that by the time they had reached adulthood, 98% of men and 75% of women born in the country have been. So we've got had reached adulthood and have been, so that's not great. And then B, we got the opposite problem. By the time they reach adulthood, had been. Don't know. C, by the time they reach adulthood, had been attacked. C looks good because they'd been attacked in the past, and by the time they reached. Okay, D is wrong because it doesn't tell us whether it's the birds or the people reaching adulthood. C and E. Okay, so C and E are very similar. I don't see the use of who were born in the country, so just born in the country. Better. So I'm just going with C simply on a slight structure improvement, but not clear. No natural predators and expanses of green sperm natives that allow no hunting. Wildlife. Okay, so while wildlife officials don't have natural predators, that's clearly not the what the sentence means. So we're looking for. Okay, A is out, B is out because obviously wildlife officials estimate doesn't have natural predators. C is looking better. D is wrong and E is wrong. Okay, so we can immediately go with C because it's the only one that talks about the deer population. Which of the following, if true, does most to help explain why the increased cost efficiency of solar power has not decreased its threshold of economic viability? So, technological improvements and reduced equipment costs make converting solar energy directly into electricity far more. Okay, so solar costs have gone down. However, the threshold of economic viability for solar power, the price per barrel to which, so price per barrel for oil will have to rise in order for new solar plants to be more economical than new oil-fired power plants is unchanged at $35. Okay, so just essentially, it's not about the cost of solar, it's about the cost of solar compared to oil, how useful oil is. So, or at least how far each barrel of oil goes. So A is actually not right. B is irrelevant. C would be good because that's saying oil has become, each barrel of oil has become more useful. No, okay, so C, we're happy with C. Okay. Is it possible to decrease inflation without causing a recession? It's concomitant increase in unemployment. The orthodox answer is no, whether they support the inertia. Okay, so the primary purpose of the passage is where it's not applying to conventional theories. It is examining a generally accepted position. It's not supporting a controversial policy. It's not, the whole passage is not actually, even though it does explain the underlying causes of inflation, etc., it's not, that's not the whole point, and it's not proposing a solution. They point out that in the 1980s, many European countries in the United States conquered high by these countries' standards inflation. Okay, so the inflation is different. Well, it's nothing to do with the fit. It did cause recession, fine. Right, by these country standards, it would not necessarily be considered high elsewhere. Okay, that was all the way at the end. So wage, they can see, so this approach. So effectively saying that you damage the long-term growth by using these. Okay, well, A is good. Happy with that. Okay. From 1980 to 1989, total consumption of fish in the country during a... Okay, so fish up 4.5%. Poultry up 9%. Population of geranium increased by 6%. Which means that per capita, fish has gone down and poultry has gone up. Okay, well, then E is true. Which of the following would it be most important to ascertain in evaluating the argument? So what's the argument? Lyme disease is caused by bacterium transmitted to humans by deer ticks. Generally, deer ticks pick up the bacterium while in the larval stage by feeding on infected white-footed mice. However, certain other species on which larvae feed do not harbor. Okay. So we've got the argument is about the number of ticks acquiring the so the ticks get it from mice. And they also feed on other things. If the population of these other species were increased, more of the larvae would be feeding on uninfected hosts. True. So the number of ticks acquiring the bacterium would likely decline. Well, not necessarily true, because if you increase the food supply, maybe the population of ticks will go up. So there we go. B looks good. Okay. The ability of scientists to provide models of the atmosphere's complex responses to changing conditions like seasonal and daily cycles or different planetary conjunctions have become ever more accurate. Okay, so lots wrong here. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the ability of scientists. So first of all, it can't be have, it should be has, but even then, you can't have an ability becoming more accurate. You can get scientists becoming more accurate. So we can get rid of A and B. And E, and so we're down to C and D. So scientists have become able to provide ever more accurate models of the atmosphere's complex response, such changing conditions as seasonal and daily cycles or different planetary conjunctions. That sounds okay. Scientists have become ever more accurate in their ability. For providing. No. Okay, so scientists haven't become more accurate in their ability. They've become able to provide more accurate models. So C. Only 7 people this century have been killed by the great white shark, the man-eater of the movies, less than those killed by bee stings. So fewer, not less. So 7 people, so fewer. So we're either on B or E. Fewer than the ones killed by bee stings versus fewer than have been killed by bee stings. Well, they're not, the people aren't fewer than the other people. They're just, it's a fewer number. It's not fewer than the ones. So we just immediately go for B. Which of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? Okay, what's the argument? Kernin imposes a high tariff on the export of unprocessed cashew. So, okay, so, okay. Okay, so it's basically saying that, well, what's an issue? Well, how do you know that they'd profit if because we'd lower the price? So the argument is about reducing urban unemployment. And so E is going to be increasing urban unemployment. And if we allowed more farmers to profit, then they would no longer need to do that. So I'm happy with the E. If the shipping clerk's statements are true, which the following must also be true? Okay. Last week, no shipments of building supplies were sent out on Friday. Okay, so building supplies, 0 on Friday. The 5 specially ordered shipments sent out last week. So 5 special were spent out on Thursday. And each of those specially ordered shipments consists entirely of building supplies. Okay. 4 shipments were sent to Truax Construction last week. Okay. So just 4 random shipments, random non-building supply shipments were sent to Truax. So okay, well, we don't need all of them specially ordered. None of Comcot's shipments sent on Friday of last week were sent to Truax Construction. No, we don't know that. None of the shipments sent to Comport to Truax Construction last week were specially ordered. That we do know, because the only specially ordered ones were building supplies, and they didn't have building supplies delivered. What about D? None of sent on Thursday. No, we don't know that. Okay. In archaeology, there must be a balance between explanation of the value and workings of archaeology. Okay, well, a balance between has to be between 2 things. So we can immediately get rid of A, C, and E. So we've only got among. Okay, there must be a balance among explaining the value and workings of archaeology, revealing the mysteries of past and present cultures, and promoting respect. So a balance among explaining, revealing, and promoting. That sounds good. And Yeah, so we can go immediately to B. Nice and easy. Okay. Passage mentioned which the following. Okay, right. Passage mentions which of the following is a basic consideration in administering minority business funding programs. So yeah, that's the answer to the first one. We inferred that the ownership gap, where's the highlighted text? We narrowed if which of the following would occur. Well, the ownership gap was about the lack of minority owners, so about ownership, so it's not about employees. Okay, well, that's D. In 1970, that was the first. It's increased the number. Following best describes the function of the second paragraph in the passage as a whole. Which one's the second paragraph? This one. It was all about the 1970s, about a shift. So it shows an example of the shifts. So B looks good. Okay, fine. And that's it. I'm not going to do AWA because that's not really worth talking about, or IR, so I'm just going to have to do this so that we can see how I did. The reason I'm not doing this is because it doesn't contribute to the score, and also it's actually relatively easy. Maybe I'll get one of them right if I'm lucky. Okay, and we can skip this. Okay, so let's see how we did. Oh, there we go. First time I've got 800, so I'm happy with that. Now let's just quickly look if I got which ones I got wrong. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm very happy with that. I didn't get any wrong. So there you go. Hopefully that's helpful to you as a way of sort of looking at the approach I took. In terms of speed, I was too fast in both of them, so I can slow down, but for a practice test, I didn't feel it was necessary. But obviously I didn't give full explanations on everything I was doing, but hopefully that at least shows sort of the way I approach things, especially within quant, the translation I was doing on all the questions, but without worrying about what was actually being asked. And in verbal, sort of pre-thinking about what the issues might be, and just scanning in the sentence correction questions, just scanning for what triggers there were.